Are you there? Can you hear me? You're mute if you're speaking.
Hello everyone, good evening. I've not been able to watch it yet, but I will do so tonight. Sorry about that.
All right, all right. It makes sense for you to kind of follow the things kind of chronologically, right? Because we have to continue from where we stop, right? We can't like go back to carry everyone along, right? Make sense? All right,
Yeah.
guys. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we have covered some of the basic things, and I think the last time we also kind of uh talked about um a little more about like programming in general and things like that. So today I wanted to kind of go over some of the basic things about the computer because we are all trying to become software engineers, and obviously the computer, that's the tool that we're going to be using like every day on a daily basis. So just like we have all these, hold on a sec. So like I think it's important to kind of understand how the computer works, because like just like we have different professions, everybody has what they use in their own work. Like a carpenter would always have his hammer, so the computer is kind of like um our main tool to work with. I mean, other people, a lot of other people, everyday people use computers to kind of watch movies and things like that. But for us, it's really a tool that we use every day. It has to be in good working condition and all that stuff. And that's what makes it different, for like a tech guy, right? So I have a laptop with me here, just just to paint a picture, right? Can you see it? This is a laptop, right? This is basically, yeah, so this is basically a computer. It's the whole thing. Mhm. It's basically the whole thing, right? And inside, we have people coming and going, like network issues, I guess. So inside the computers, we have things that look like this. True? We have we have things like this.
Yes, the motherboard.
Please, can somebody help us manage the people that are coming in? I mean, I will have to always accept people in, but it's kind of this distracting. Can somebody just keep an eye on that? Just admit anybody that is trying to join. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, JC. So
I don't
inside the
think I have the permission to.
yeah, anyone that is already in can admit anyone that's coming. So I guess that can be everybody's work actually. All right. So like I said, inside the laptops, inside the computers, it really looks something like this. And that's really all of it. it looks like this inside your phone as well. It looks like this inside basically most electronics that that is smart today. And these things are really just um, a lot of components here, but the most important one is something called the transistor. And there are so many of them, especially on the part of the motherboard that is called the processing unit. Now, um, it's kind of the most important parts of the computer because that's like the thing that makes computer what it is, that makes it to compute, right? So think of it like as the main idea that the whole computer is kind of built around, right? So the the transistor is kind of like a switch, you know. It answers a question, a basic question, yes or no. This is just me trying to be very simple in my explanation. Of course, it can be a little more complicated like that, but the goal of the transistor is to be able to say yes or no, basically. And um in electronics terms, it's basically the electric current that is connected to your computer that it turns off and on. So there is a lot of complex things that happens inside the computer to be able to achieve this, So, but basically, um, that's the that's the main guy. Yeah. So when you get into the computer, you kind of you can get lost because there is a lot of moving parts. We have the storage, we have uh the central processing unit, we have the input and output devices. And if you already use a computer, you are probably already familiar with most of these things, I guess. But the basic thing that I wanted to point out is that transistor is kind of the invention that came on board in the world of technology that made people say, oh, wow, now we can build a computer. And it kind of makes sense to, if you're curious, to go a little bit deeper to kind of understand how it works, how it takes our code and everything, and, does all the programming magic that happens that allows the computer to kind of achieve so much today. So, but that's um that's the guy, that kind of handles all those things. So and to be more real, I had a simple example in my head previously. It was a video that I saw online on the I think it was a farmer that had like all this ram, so many of them, so many of these ram. There are the adult ram, there are the junior ones, and to make things simple, they built the built simple a gate, a narrow path that was like a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, I'll probably share the video in the group later. So at the end of the tunnel, he had like a gate, and then each time a ram comes by, he will decide if the RAM should go left or right. So he was basically using that gate to direct the big rams, the adult rams one side, and then the smaller rams the other side. And then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is exactly how the computer solves problems. It just gets all the information from us, and it has that power to kind of sort it, be able to say, okay, you go here, right? So a good example is like when you are typing something on your laptop, like you want to type some keys on your laptop, like you want to say name, for instance, right? Your computer, it doesn't really know um so much about what you're doing, but it has the ability to behind the scene understand, take the information that you're given, which is the key presses, and it reads them as signals, and it will compare what you've typed with what it already know, like some of the things that have already been programmed into it to say, okay, these are all the information about alphabets that you need to know, and it just kind of makes that comparison, and it's able to say do something like, oh, okay, you typed N, you say yes to allow N to pass. A, oh, yeah, that one, we want that one. Yes. M, yeah, we need that one. And E, yeah, we need that one as well. And then you'll be able to sort out those alphabets that you needed, and then everything else will be thrown out or stored in a different location. And then it's able to, you know, get this sorted information and display it on your screen. And it's usually um it happens, like a very fast speed, and it just kind of a very, very simplified way of explaining it. But actually, that's the most powerful thing that the computer does, that has been multiplied into like millions of times by building several millions of all those transistors and circuits into uh, the tiny computer, and is able to make this sorting and processing of all the data and instruction that we put in really fast, right? That's the basic building block that makes the computer logic work, right? So over time, the computer have evolved to include so many other moving parts like the memory. We have, things like this now. This is a solid state drive that I bought, and I use it to keep some files because the memory of my laptop is kind of a lot right now. It's kind of getting filled up, and we have the processor. We have different kind of storage systems, the ones that even include cloud storage these days on our computer. We have different ways to get information into the computer. The keyboard plus the keyboard, you still have like the camera, which is also basically an input device, like the microphone on the computer, and all those things are, how the computer have evolved to do a lot more to make uh, a lot of decisions within a very short period of time. So I think it's very important to kind of have this information so that you kind of understand how the computer works. Like when you start writing your code, when you start typing codes, on your key, what happens behind the scene, right? So that's bring us to programming. I think we can start talking about like Python today. But before I go into that, anybody have any questions about all what I have said so far? No questions. All right, cool. So when you start programming with the computer, you basically need to kind of save a file, and you're gonna type something, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like in a bit. But generally, the computer is just made up of all these hardwares that we have talked about, and then the software part of it, it's also very, very powerful. It's something that have evolved like over the years. There was a time when being a programmer was as simple as learning HTML, and then those years they were able to build like uh web pages that had all those blue links that when you click on it, it turns, is it pink? It turns purple, yeah. And that was pretty much the internet, and that was pretty much what the internet was, HTML files that had links, that links to each other, and you can click a link on my page to go to another person's page or website, and it was really that simple. So but over time, people have been improving all that technology to make it do more, to achieve a whole lot more. And Python is just one of those languages um, that came on. And I remember when I was just starting to learn Python several years ago. That was when I was just trying to get into tech the first time, and it was just like after my uni. I was just waiting for NYSC. My Nigerian brothers here knows exactly where I'm talking about. And during that period of time, I happened to be in touch with this man of God who was kind of like all those guys that will see vision for you, kind of. So I happened to be involved with one of them during that period, and one day the guy called me from nowhere, and was he wanted to pray for me. He wanted to cast out the spirit of Python in my life. I think that was the exact word, and I was at lost. So, but during that period of time, when I thought about when I had time to think about it, um, I realized that the guy was probably stalking me on social media, like Facebook, and I was beginning to learn programming at that point, and I was sharing stuff like Python. He probably saw Python, and he didn't really know what it meant, or he misunderstood it, but he got that information and wanted to come and use it to prophesy for me. But that was a very hilarious incident. But when I look back now and I just think about it, when people hear Python for the first time, they are probably thinking that maybe it was it had something to do with the snake. So I understand that. But it actually turned out that the guy who created the language, um, he was basically he didn't it was nothing about snake basically, so he wasn't really talking about snake. um it was just he wanted to create a language that is very simple, a language that would be good for beginners, because back in the days, programming languages used to be very, very difficult. Like when you explore languages like C++ and even C, nobody, people don't even try to, learn those languages in these days because we have beautiful languages today like Python that is actually like beginner friendly that people can learn. So it turned out that the name Python actually came from some, I think it was a British comedy show that had the same name. So he was just looking for a random name that is short and simple that people can remember, and he just picked the name, right? Okay, so the point is, the whole goal of Python is actually simplicity, and that's why it's perfect for beginners. It's very, very good to be your first programming language. So if you're just coming from scratch and you don't know any programming language before now, Python was designed to be a good first programming language that you can learn. But it's also one of the most powerful languages that we have today because even though it was built to be simple, it was also built to do so much, and that's why the language is very, very popular, especially today in the machine learning and AI world. As a DevOps guy, I used Python a lot to write automation scripts, and it's a whole different way to use Python compared to building softwares, for instance. So but that goes to tell you the versatility of the language. It can be used to do so many things. Okay, so eventually you're gonna learn the language, and you'll see that it's really a very simple language. But I'm gonna be honest with you, even though Python it's supposed to be beginner friendly, like it's still gonna be challenging, because especially if you are someone who is maybe learning a programming language for the first time, it's not going to just be about learning Python. It's about learning programming in general, first of all, before we even talk about Python. And so you're going to be running into a lot of errors, something called syntax errors. That's the most popular. That's the one that you're going to come across a lot. You will have like when I first started programming with it was Bash, and then I would do all my best and get all this scripts from Stack Overflow. That's how we used to do it back then. Today you have like AI and you can easily like just generate code. If you have a good understanding of the language, it's easy for you to just build anything. But back then you have to kind of like hustle code from different websites by Googling and finding things that look like what you're looking for. And Stack Overflow is one of the most popular ones. So yeah, I will always run into these syntax errors. At first I thought um this is too much. Like after you spend so much time trying to work on your code and you try to run it, it just throws up the syntax error, and I'm always like man, what's going on? At some point it starts to feel personal, like this computer thing is judging me, this computer thing is against me. What have I done? Right? So but over the years, I've come to understand like it's not personal. The computer does not hate me. a syntax error simply means that the Python is lost. He doesn't think that I'm dumb, or he's not judging my intelligence or my ability to program. He's just telling me, just trying to pass an information to me like, hey, I'm lost, So once Python is lost, it's going to throw up an error. And the thing is, Python easily gets lost. Why? Because Python is not smart, right? We are the smart ones. That's why we try to learn the language so that we can program the computer. But the language itself and the computer that is running it, it's not smart. So it gets lost a lot. Any slight mistake is going to get lost. You miss a comma, it's going to get lost. You mistype something, even you put a space where there is not supposed to be a space. Syntax error, right? So at some point you would start thinking like maybe it's your fault. So that's gonna happen. So but I just want you to know that the Python guy is just a piece of software, and it's when it's lost, you basically just need to go back and just look at your code, and you might notice that, okay, oh, I missed a full stop here. Oh, I missed something here. And that's um, how it works generally. Okay. Eugene said his network is poor. Sorry about that, buddy. Good thing we are recording it. So, all right, guys. So, that's a little bit intro. Our first Python programming code that we're gonna write, something called hello world, which is kind of like a tradition. And if you're just starting out in programming, you would first of all write hello world. But I think we have some guys here who are kind of like already crossed that bridge. So let me ask, is there anybody in the meeting who knows how to write hello world in Python currently?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, hi, you can write hello world. Johnson, you can write hello world as well. Okay, that leaves off with Eugene and Jesse. Okay. So hello world in Python is actually very simple. Let me Yeah, Eugene is really having a tough time today.
Varieties.
Yeah, pardon? Okay. Did you say you can write it, Jesse?
Yes.
Oh, cool. So we are all past that level, huh? Well, that's good to know. Okay, that's good to know. So since we all know how to write it, that's gonna be our first assignment, I guess. Just to make sure. So I'm gonna skip that, and I think we have pretty much covered the beginner stuff. Then we're gonna get into the syntax of the programming language, and kind of start going through things like variables and things like that, just to make sure that, okay, even if there is someone who is a beginner among us, will be able to follow along. And that's Eugene, but Eugene has problems with his internet, and that's a problem. Okay. Let me see what we can do. Mhm. Okay, so do we all have Python installed? If you have installed Python on your laptop, can you give me like a
Yeah, I
thumbs up?
have. Yes, I have.
No, I don't. Is that what you asked us to do day 1 and 2?
Yeah, that was what we did the last time. Yeah, you do need to watch that video so that you can get set up properly. Well, there is something they call Python Playground, which is an online place that you can run Python. Let me show you guys. So if I Google, okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
You can see it.
All right, cool. So as you can see, what I just did is I Googled Python Playground in Chrome, and I'm gonna get things like this. I can check this one out. A playground is somewhere that you can write code. So even if you don't have Python installed on your laptop, you can use a Python playground online to write Python code, and it will still work. But there is a lot of things you will not be able to do in this kind of environment. But for starting out, like something like hello world in Python, you can do it here, right? And Python is a very simple language, like I said. So hello world is actually simple as telling Python to print hello world, right? And then when you run it, Python says hello world. Okay, so if you don't have Python installed on your laptop yet, you can use something like this. Okay, so eventually we'll get into the more sophisticated stuff in Python. And okay, let me actually itemize it, and we can. Okay, so we will spend the next few sections just going over like understanding the basic Python syntax, and we will cover. We have already covered like installation and things like that. But if you're having issues with that, just feel free to just put a message in the chat. And even if I'm not there, I'm sure we already have a lot of people in our group who can actually help you with installation, but you also have this option of using um, an online playground to write. Okay, so we're going to go through things like variables in Python. We'll go through data types, and we will learn how to input and output things from a Python function. So that will allow us to learn about functions as well. And then we'll learn about the operators in Python. And that's how we usually do things that are related to maths, from basic math to more complex stuff like conditional statements. We'll cover conditional statements as well, and we'll cover loops. That's probably enough for the basic Python. Okay. We might touch things like dictionaries, tuples, and lists, just to make sure that we cover everything, and then we'll just try to do basic projects on Python. We'll probably build like a calculator or to-do list or stuff like that. And then we'll start getting into more complex things like file handling and how to handle errors when they come up. We have something called exception handling that we use to make sure that errors are handled properly. And we'll get into um, something called lambda functions, which is very important as well, especially for the kind of thing we want to build. And we'll make a more we'll do a more complicated project from that point. We'll try to maybe build something, maybe like an app, something like that. And then that should be enough to cover Python. And then we'll learn about object-oriented programming, and we'll get into Python frameworks. I think the most popular one is Flask. Yeah, we have Flask, and we have I think the other guy is called Django. Yeah, we have Flask and we have Django. So we'll explore those with object-oriented programming, and then we'll get into APIs. With the Python frameworks, yeah, we're definitely going to touch APIs, and then we'll build a project again at that point. At that point, we'll start building projects that have a front end and a back end, because we now know Django or Flask. And after that, then we can explore a front end framework that would allow us to build the front end for the application, which means at that point we probably already know Python, and then we'll start learning JavaScript. And with JavaScript, we'll be able to build the front end as well, connect the API to our Django application or Flask application on the back end, and we'll touch the DevOps aspects as well, so that we can actually deploy it probably to the cloud and stuff like that. But just thinking through it with the list I have here, I think that's what it's gonna look like. Do you have any questions?
For now, no. Just enjoying your presentation. Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay. Welcome. So, yeah, this is gonna be. I mean, this is gonna be your assignment, right? You're gonna create your own Hello World Python script and submit it to me. I'll have to figure out the mode of submission, I guess. But okay, let me just articulate all that, and then I'll put that in the chat, and then we'll schedule the next session, and it's basically gonna be a Python programming section, where we go through all of these things that I mentioned. We'll start with the basic, and then we'll see how many sessions that can cover it, and then we'll move up a little bit more. Make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'm gonna stop sharing, and yeah, we've done almost like 40 minutes. Okay, I'm going to let you guys. I'm gonna end the presentation here, and then we'll. I'm going to send in the assignment and mode of submission and all of that stuff. So that gives you something to do. I wanted to go through this. Sorry, before you guys go. I think I've already invited everybody to Clickup. Is that right? Is there anyone who has not been invited to Clickup yet? Okay, that means everybody's already invited to Clickup. Clickup. Well, if you have not been invited to Clickup, let me just show this again for those who were not here before. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so ClickUp is basically the project management tool that we'll use to kind of track our things that we're doing. So you have your, okay, yeah, obviously you do your product person. So you're going to send me your email if you've not already been invited. Here I've already created a workspace for us so that we can put our stuff in here. So we're going to have a board. You will get the board that looks like this. And here you're going to come in and you add your tags, right? So for me, that would be something like, so it's going to be something like this, right? This is a tax that I've created for myself, right? And then I start writing the script. I probably need to to complete this task, I probably need to first of all install Python on my laptop, and if I don't have that, make sure that I have the other things I need to install, like VS Code. This was covered in the last video, so I'm just going over it again, just to make sure. So to complete this task, I'll probably need to install Python and install VS Code, and then create the Python file, and then type hello world inside it, and then probably like submit the file, I think. And then once I'm doing all these things, okay, to do is where you can just create different things and just leave them there. And once you actually start working on it, or maybe you already started making some research about it, like installing stuff like that, you can move it to planning. At the point where I've already started like installing my Python software on my laptop and downloading VS Code, it goes to planning, right? And then I've installed the stuff, and then I started getting into writing the hello world in my Python in my laptop with my VS Code. Then I move this task to in progress, right? So, and we have all these other things here. These are for actual teams that are doing actual stuff that actually matters to a company. You will have things like this. Maybe you're not meeting up, and this Python hello world script is very important to your company. That's when it goes to like at risk. Mostly as an engineer, you don't want to be here anyway. So I'm probably gonna remove all these guys. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
you
you can
just
delete them.
yeah, I'm gonna remove them. So you want to go to complete, and when we have it for everybody, we'll be able to see, okay, this guy have written his own, this guy have done his own, this guy have done his own, and eventually you kind of become used to this uh cycle, so that at the end of at the beginning of the week or a sprint, you can come here and put in all the things, all the things that you need to do during that week, and then you kind of start working on them. And every day, you can always come back here and see the tasks you're working on, so you're not forgetting anything, and everybody else, kind of sees it. And then we'll have stand-up meetings. I think that's necessary. What do you guys think? Do you guys know what is stand-up meetings? Jesse, you probably do, right?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that has been to a stand-up meeting?
No, please.
Okay. Victor, you can call. Okay, Victor, I've been to a stand-up call. Could you tell us a little bit about what the stand-up meeting is, Jesse?
Okay, so a stand-up meeting is basically like a call that happens at the beginning. Okay, for example, when you, as a product manager, you meet up with your team, you discuss for the day what the task is. And if that's like the beginning of the sprint, you discuss the sprint and everything that's going on. But if it's like an everyday, because the stand up is usually an everyday meeting in the morning before your activity. So if it's the beginning of a new sprint, you discuss it there. And if it's like a turnover, you discuss what you did yesterday, what you did previously, and what you're going to be doing like today. And if you have any blockers, you you say it there, what the blockers are, and the solutions we suggested.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's basically what a stand-up call is. So but we don't have to do it every day. It will probably like maybe a weekly something. We'll kind of experiment with it and see if we need to have more stand-up calls or less. So, but like maybe once a week, we'll just come together and see what everybody is doing and where they are, or maybe twice a week or something like that. Especially as we are starting to actually like do stuff, write code, write hello world, Python script, and things like that. So it makes sense for us to have that stand-up call. So it's gonna be another meeting that we'll be having as well. But it's usually very short, and it's a meeting that we can always coordinate. Like even if I'm not there, the people who are up that day can just come into the meeting and get a status on what everybody is doing. Just kind of see if anybody needs help and stuff like that. That would be the meeting for it. So um we'll have that as well. Okay, so if you're not I think I was on ClickUp. Where is the ClickUp again? Mm, hold on a sec. Okay. Yeah, so if you're not already on ClickUp, just send me your email address, and I'll send you an invite. And then definitely put create put in your tags, just like I did mine, just like I put in my hello world tags, and we'll start from there. Okay, makes sense. Anybody, any questions, any suggestions, any contributions before we go? Okay, I think we're good. All right, guys. Thank you again for showing up today.
Some of
Okay.
Okay.
way that we sent way that we sent us some days ago. You've not sent the invite.
Okay. If you sent me yours previously, okay, Eugene, you sent me yours previously. Was it in
Yes,
the group chat?
yes, in the group chat. That was like 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah, I must have missed that. All right. I'm gonna check that. And I've gotten your email as well, Jesse. So I'm gonna send you an invite. And okay. All right, that's basically it, guys, and then
Okay, I
we'll
have something to say.
yeah.
You mentioned something about having a stand up. So I was saying that it could be maybe once a week. It's be like a retrospective, like things that we did during the week. We just talk about it like at the end of the week. Then for the remaining days of the week, maybe in the morning, it could be like the way we already have a WhatsApp group chat. So just like sending the update there rather than the call. Maybe call can be once a week. It's just a
Yeah,
suggestion.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we can make it, like a meeting for, like our status. Like we just get status if we had something we are doing, and then otherwise it will be a retro. So we can do it like that. And then about the timing, I guess we don't have to decide on the timing right now, because I mean it's not like we are an actual team and we have a lot of things to do. Right now it just uh it's really not so much that we need to do. So we'll see if we have any need to do more, to do it maybe more than once a week. we'll definitely see that. But right now, I think that once a week is probably okay. And then we can have trainings the other days. All right. All right, guys. Let's not spend more time here. Just enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Mhm.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Bye.